Drop everything and clear those ears. It's time for the Dave and Dave Show.
Dave is on the air. It's in the air, right? Goes up to a satellite, comes back down.
We're in the air, bro. David, what's happening there in the land of the drones? What's going on?
In the land of the drones, the drones are sort of diminishing a little bit. They still haven't explained it to us, which is, sort of curious. It can only be one of two things. Either they have no idea what the fuck they're doing, so they don't know what the drones are or where they came from. Or they do know, and they're fucking lying to us that they don't know. So anyway, it's got to be one of the two, and it's a little frustrating. There's a whole shitload of them above my house the other day. Had guys out on the street checking them out with these. They got apps on their phone. They're checking them out. Anyway, I hope to God they don't have a laser beam attached to them, and it's not trained on the roof of my house. Otherwise, we're going to be disintegrated here. Sure.
Well, good luck finding you, Dave. You're a target hard to hit. Serpent.
Mars attacks when they're trying to be all friendly to them and everything.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? This morning, just vaporize people. Anyway.
Well, to drop off a pizza. Some pizza. I owe you a few pizza.
I'm coming to you live from the beautiful the Nook at the Rockridge Golf Course in beautiful town, New Jersey. Unofficial sponsor of ours.
Fargo cap.
Forged.
Sorry.
The back, but
Hunter.
the back had a tag on it. It looks like there's some sort of, speaking of aliens, looks like there's a little alien sticking out of my head, so I had to go back to the front. And then we have another unofficial sponsor. That is Kane Head High from Ocean, New Jersey. Beautiful ocean.
Blame it on Kane.
Great brewery. Yeah, blame it. Exactly. A lot of people around here have been doing that and blaming all sorts of shit on Kane, but doesn't cut a lot.
All my
ice with the judge
on Kane.
Yeah. All right. Are we going to recap a little bit? How'd we do that?
Not going to recap as long as we, read it.
And then ignore the NFL. Yeah. That's what we should do. We were both 3-1 on college. Wonderful. And that's all we ought to do is bet on college football and tell the NFL to take a hike because it's too obvious. I think is my problem this year in the NFL. Like all the obvious choices are coming out. I hate obvious.
No, you are the contrarian of the North, and
it ain't working this year.
Well, we're wondering how these sports books can keep in business with all these away favorites winning. I mean, for years, decades, home dogs.
They go through this.
Take the points at home.
They go through a whole weekend of popular choices winning, and then they come up to really crappy games on Monday night. And I guess for a lot of people, maybe that other one was a push or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, I split. But
if you got that game early, you won. They won by enough. I mean, just insane. And then and the Bears.
They don't even put up a fight anymore, Chicago. It's I feel sorry for the head coach who was making strides as an offensive coordinator, especially with Cable.
You're not going to be the guy, I don't think.
No. And unfortunately, he never really had a chance to be a coordinator. He was only doing it for a couple weeks. Quarterback's coach, offensive coordinator, head coach. Come on. The ownership there.
They're a mess.
Yeah.
If there's any team.
Talks being a Giants, and
if there's anything given the Jets a run for their money as far as, trying to turn them into a winner from being kind of a perpetual loser, it's probably the Bears.
The Bears.
You guys, Giants are in the running, definitely in the playoff hunt for worst organization. All right, so what are we going to do? We're going to go to kickball.
Well, tell me about your kickball. I know you're a little hot and cold, but you're doing well over the season. Pat.
My third game. I'm going to go with a trifecta on Saturday, and it's all the games in a different time slots. The first game is the early game at 7:30, the only game in town. That one, the early game, the day game actually in England. Second game's at 10 o'clock our time, and then the third one is the big game, I guess, which is at 12:30. Now it's a game between Crystal Palace and Arsenal. They're playing right now. So I already made this pick. I'm going to say that the game that's happening right now is not having any bearing on my pick at all because you're basically doing the same thing in both games, which you probably already know what that is. This game right now, Crystal Palace is actually beating them out on the road. Arsenal's at home in this game, the EFL Cup game. And, Crystal Palace is winning this game straight up 1-0 at halftime. Anyway, so now I need to root for the other guys. I'm rooting for Arsenal to somehow get even. So I have to draw. But anyway, also looking at that coming up. But first game is at 7:30. It's between Aston Villa and Manchester City.
City.
The perennial champ over the last 5-6 years in the Premier League. I mean, the dominant force in soccer, not just in the Premier League, but all across Europe and maybe the best club team in the world. They are all messed up right now, to say it nicely. I was going to say all fucked up, but they are all messed up. I don't know if they've had a streak this bad in decades, maybe. And it's really, it's phenomenal because it's not just in the Premier League where they can't win, but also in the Champions League as well. They're really doing poorly. And now the other day, they ended up playing Man U, who, if there's any team going worse than Man City in the Premier League, it's Man U.
Info right across the street.
And they were down, and Man City was at home. I mean, granted, they're both in the same city, but it was Man City's field, and Man U came back and ended up beating them 2-1 with 2 late goals. I mean, just to show how badly Man City's doing. Anyway, so they're still a huge favorite on the road at Aston Villa, who, granted, they're a little off form themselves in that they started off the season very well in the Premier League, and they started off the season in our Champions League because they were one of the top teams in the Premier League last year. So they're in the Champions League. They started off that great. They're beating people left and right. They've started to stumble in that league as well. So I feel a lot better about them if they were a little bit more in form. They're not, but I'm still taking them. I'm not taking a draw in this game. Taking Aston Villa to win this game straight up, plus 225. The second in the 10 o'clock time slot, and it's my boys, the guys who just got double promoted, Ipswich. Okay. Who wins it? They got 2 wins in the league. They are fighting to not get relegated to the Championship League for next season. I think they're going to make it. I think there's enough teams that are playing so badly that Ipswich, because you just got to watch their game. Even when they lose, they're in it. They kind of hang around. They do some interesting things. They've already won 2 games in the league on the road, but they have yet to win a home game. This looks like a good setup for them to win because they're playing a middle of the road team, Newcastle, they're like kind of at home, and they're kind of on the road. I think Ipswich has been waiting for a team like this, whereas there was almost a little bit too much expected of them, or maybe pressure, if you want to say that, when they played a couple of crappy teams at home, and they have a bunch of ties. They yet to have a win. They're going to get a win on Saturday morning, 10 o'clock our time on the East Coast in the States. Ipswich plus 340. Plus 340 beat Newcastle. So as you know, they don't need to win too many of those for you to be showing a profit. If they won in this situation 1 out of 3 times, you're showing a profit. And then the last game is a rematch of the game that's being played right now, which is Crystal Palace and Arsenal. So rematch of this game. Oh, they started the second half. Crystal Palace is still winning 1-0. So that's my last one. Now this would be good. Now the game that's being played today, Arsenal's at home. This is what's known as a derby, because it's 2 teams from London playing each other, just like the other day. That was the Manchester derby. between the two teams from Manchester, United and City.
You line balls like to make up.
Oh, yeah. And they like to make up tournaments, too. Like the tournament they're playing today is the EFL, whatever they call it. They call it the Carabao Cup now because they're the sponsor. But people talk about it like it's this diminished thing, like nobody cares about it. The FA Cup, which is the big tournament amongst the English football teams, all the levels, all the way down to the little guys who are practically semi-pro. Okay, FA Cup has been going on for over 150 years. It is the longest running tournament amongst club football teams in the world. Okay, very important to these teams. They don't take those FA Cup games lightly. A lot of people think that they take these games, the EFL Cup or the Bravo Cup, they take these games like, this tournament's been going on since 1960. All right. And I was born in 1960. That's a while. Okay. That's a while ago. This one's been going on for a while. All these teams, they're out going on bonus hardware. They want to get the trophies. Because let's say you're having a season where, you're kind of middle of the road, in the Premier League or something. But hey, you have a chance to win this tournament and have a trophy to put in your. Believe me, they're going for it. They might rest somebody that's in trouble and they want to play Champions League games or Premier League games. But anyway, they still play these games straight up. They still play very hard. And so
and which way are we going in this rematch?
Now Saturday's game, I'm going draw again. And draw today, Crystal Palace is winning the game 1-0 on the road. Now at home. And really the big reason here is because Crystal Palace has been cracked at home. I'm going draw on the game on Saturday also.
Okay, so you got three.
Those win draw up. Ipswich to win the game at 340 and Crystal Palace playing Arsenal to draw at a plus 300. You can get down on that right now if you hurry because Crystal Palace is looking pretty good.
All right.
You got
you a draw. All right, Laddie Buck. We're back on this side of the pond. We're going to jump into NCAA football, which has been our bread and butter. Back-to-back 3-1 with Florida Dave. And I think we're going head-to-head for the first game. You got anything other than before Friday night?
No. My first game's Friday night.
Why don't you start it off? I know you take Indiana.
Oh, you got to go first.
All right.
Oh, you don't have anything?
The English. I'm going with the Irish. Stick with them. You're talking about all your Lionies and all your Welsh blood that you got going through your veins and drinking Welsh beer and you're just lineballing me to death.
I know you're like the Scotsman because you all feel like poor put upon Irish and Scots.
I know you're a mixed breed, and we love you. We love you to death, drones and everything. But we're going strength versus strength here. I know the Irish are laying a touchdown, but for a reason. It's going to be the ND rushing versus the IU defense. And I think the Irish are 7 points. They're too strong. They're going to be focused. IU, they're having a great storybook season. I love it. It's a Cinderella. Neither team has really had a hard schedule,
Cinderella season that lost to Northern Illinois.
Yes. And who have they really beat? Army? You showed their two colors against Navy. But Indiana hasn't played anybody. And when they finally did, they beat they got thrashed by a very weak Ohio State team. I think that score was a little misleading. But, I still think the Irish are going to prevail. Lay your 7. I know you're going the other way. What do you like about the Hoosiers?
Everything. I love the fact that them being able to win the Big Ten and keep their undefeated season going and everything, and playing an Ohio State team that maybe wasn't as good as some of the recent vintages of Ohio State. Okay, I understand all of that.
Even that is suspect.
I think Ohio State is a different animal than Notre Dame. I really do. At this point, I don't think that much of Notre Dame. You're on a great roll, but any team capable of losing at home to Northern Illinois is capable of keeping a game against this Indiana team close. This game for the University of Indiana is so fucking big. There's no way to even describe it. To be able to play Notre Dame. One thing, who would schedule them when they were, when Indiana was going 1-10? Oh, of course. Notre Dame put them on the schedule at the beginning of the season, beat the crap out of them, move on. But now that they're good, they got their one chance. The one chance, maybe in there, it's to play these guys, beat these guys. I think there's going to be a tight game for sure.
All right.
Even
going head to head.
If it's going to be one-sided, that's going to be
Hoosiers against the Irish.
Indiana kicks their ass.
Head to head for a pizza. We shall see. All right, let's keep moving. We're on a little timetable there. I'm going to go with the Mustangs with SMU taking 8.5. SMU, they got a great offense. They can definitely score and against Penn State. I think they're going to hang around. This is going to be a tough game. Penn State hasn't blown anybody out ever. You know, what makes you think they're going to beat a tough SMU team by more than 8 points? Yeah, the Mustangs fell behind their previous game, but they came back. They had a great fourth quarter. They almost stole that game back. And they almost, but I do like SMU to keep it close against Penn State. Take the 8.5. SMU Mustangs against the Nittany Lions.
Well, you just came up with my second pick.
Sorry, Grasshopper.
Penn State.
You got Penn State. Oh,
we're going at least double pizza. Who knows? We might be going for 4 pizzas this week. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I got to feel
like about it.
You got to feel there's one more game on the schedule that we're going to be going head to head. All right. Here's the thing, and we've talked about this. We've actually talked about, I think, at length on the Dave and Dave show. Penn State has this uncanny ability that when they're playing teams of, maybe just not the top dogs, they beat the crap out of them. They beat the crap out of people all the time. And especially somebody like this coming from what I consider to be a lesser conference, playing a Big Ten team. I think Penn State is going to maul these guys. And the only teams that Penn State can't beat over the last 6 years is Michigan and Ohio State. Other than that, they just tear people up. And I think they're going to do that to SMU. SMU is a sort of a trendy pick to maybe go a little ways in a tournament because people think they can win this game. No, we're going to get smashed. So I like Penn State minus 8.5 at home, which is huge in this game. This could be really interesting because it's supposed to get butt nasty. I know it can get cold in Texas, but that's not the weather that this SMU team wants. I promise you, that's not the. Singleton is going to run wild on these guys. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're going to run the ball down their throats.
All right, duly noted. So I'm going head to head in the first two. My third pick, I am going with the Clemson Tigers to give Texas a run for their money. Texas offense has really slowed down the past 3 weeks. I think Ewers looks really weak when he's pressured. And go ahead, bring in Arch Manning. I would love it because Clemson's one problem is their passing game, and Texas' biggest strength is their secondary. But it's up to 12 now. The line is moving in Texas's direction. Was 11. I'm glad I waited. I'm going to take the 12. Dabo will have this team prepared, and they're going to keep this close, if not outright win against the Longhorns. Take Clemson plus 12.
Everybody be careful on all these college ball games. It's just so crazy. And I just heard Rich Rodriguez, who got rehired at West Virginia after being away for like a very long time. Okay. Talking about how, and it's just like a regular person standing there talking about something and making, all the sense in the world and just saying, we got to do something about this, the portal, all this shit, the transfers. It has to be done when the season's over. Can't be doing it now. Every one of these games is hugely impacted by either guys who aren't playing or, they're in the portal, but they are playing and just all sorts of crazy shit going on. It was bad enough when some guys used to declare for the draft, and maybe be 1-2 guys on a team. Now, Western Kentucky is playing tonight. There's 20 guys on the team. How many guys are on a team total? It's like 75 or 80 guys, and most of those guys don't play. There's 20 guys on Western Kentucky who are in the portal. Now, tonight's game is actually kind of interesting because Western Kentucky, the quarterback's in the portal. He's playing. He's playing in the game. And as we talked about yesterday, sometimes they don't play by their choice because they're in the portal and they're going to another school and they don't give a shit about the school that they're at right now. But sometimes it's the team and the coach who's like, "Oh, you're going to another school? Well, fuck you. You don't even bother showing. You're not even coming to the bowl game."
Yeah, they don't even want him to play.
This case, when you have a quarterback, maybe you say, "Except you can come because we need you." Anyway, but I know the situation in a lot of these games. Even the game last night had a lot of guys that the portal injuries, maybe going into the draft, all this shit impacts it. The bowl games have just gotten chaotic. They have to do what Rich Rodriguez was talking about last night, which is it can't be before the games. It just can't. And now that they got this big tournament, I mean, some of these tournament teams have guys who are transferring, going into the portal and whatnot. They're not immune to it. They certainly have guys who are thinking about going pro on these good teams. So they gotta just let it go. I mean, if you're going to opt out of a bowl game because you're afraid of getting hurt because you think you have NFL draft status or something, well, those guys still aren't going to play. But this portal thing, it just made the whole thing like a total mess. You see some teams.
Yours for a gambler, no doubt about it.
But what they were during the season. I mean, there's some teams that are going to have guys out there who have barely played this year. I saw guys in a game last.
Who are you leaning toward, Eric? Dave?
That game that you just picked, I'm a little scared now. There's too many. Everybody's on Clemson. So am I. I'm on.
Really? Because the line's going up. It's now 12. It was.
They
played 11
close games towards the end of the season against teams of decent caliber. Probably not the caliber of Texas, but it just seems like Clemson is kind of getting their footing like kind of late in the game this season. Now, if they have their guys playing, which I hope they do, we know how great they are. We know how great their coach is. I haven't been that high on Texas all year, so I'm taking Clemson plus 12.
All right, so we're on the same team there.
Yep. So you're up to your last game.
Dave, I'm finishing off with the Vols from Tennessee. Going to take 7.5. Ohio State, I know they averaged, 35 points a game versus the lower tier, but against their upper tier opponents, Oregon, Iowa, and obviously Michigan, which they couldn't get by them, they didn't get it done offensively. Tennessee is no offensive juggernaut, but their defense is keep them in the game. Yeah, their defense is what's going to kill them in the game. And 7.5 points, I will take it. Vols plus 7.5 against the Buckeyes.
All right, we're done. I got Ohio State, but I got 7. I got 7 on the game. I don't know where you're coming up with this. And that is a huge hook. So
it's a huge hook. I'm looking at it right now at Hard Rock Bet. You got 7.
Hard Rock.
I got 7.5 minus 115. You are
better jump on that 7.5.
I already have, laddie. And you're taking the favorites. Wow, you're taking a lot of favorites.
I am. You can't be. Well, not in college football, but in the pros, start looking at favorites for sure because they've cut for every game.
Exactly. If we had to learn somebody else's by this week.
Can you see this? We do. And read that. Ohio State 7.
All right. Well, that's 115. So then you want that half a point? You could get it right. What Hard Rock Bet?
Are you selling for those guys? Wow.
You might have to cross into the border.
I thought you hated them.
Who's that?
Hard Rock.
Well, since I'm in Florida, I really have no choice.
DraftKings is going to be it's a sponsor. Ford.
Well, unfortunately, they will be any roper, right?
They have all sorts of them.
South of Georgia. Maybe in Cuba, but not south of Georgia.
You ready for the pros?
Yes. Start us off there, laddie.
I got to start. All right. I'm going tomorrow night. The Chargers own Denver. And this game just looks a little sneaky to me. And don't get me wrong. I like Denver. I really do. And I think the fact that they went with a rookie quarterback and they have they're kind of good on both sides of the ball. They do enough. They won a lot of games. This is the Chargers at home. And I think it's a baby spot. And I think they're going to get it done. So I like the Chargers minus 2.5 against Denver tomorrow night.
I'm with you, Dave. I mean, Chargers broke my heart last week. Broncos look like champions. What do we do? Go for the Broncos.
You win against your Tampa Bay Bucks, your beloved Bucks.
You're right.
I tried to point on the show even. I said, oh my God, you don't get Tampa Bay and your favorite player, Baker Mayfield. Don't
The MVP, Mike Evans. They're actually one of my picks.
great.
I'm with you. We're on the same side of the pizza oven on this one. I'm taking the Bolts. I'll take the 2.5. It's -3 here, but
That's on a little mini roll too. So
let's see. All right, we're on the same page in that one. Who's your second pick, buddy?
my second pick is the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, now that we know, Mahomes is going to play. I've been down on Houston all year. I think they're overrated. I think they got a little lucky last week in that it looked like Miami just doing everything wrong in that game and still had a chance. Not a big Texans fan this year. Kind of think there's a little bit of a sophomore jinx going on with Stroud. And with him playing, I just think the Chiefs are going to put the pedal down a little bit here. And laying 3, I'll take the Chiefs. I'm going with some favorites just because, underdogs ain't working in the pros. So
That's
next part. It's in a row. All right.
Bro, you're picking again because and we didn't, obviously trade notes prior to. I'm taking the Chiefs as well. They're going to have no problem with the sputtering Texas offense. And Mahomes, he doesn't have to throw. Hand it off. That Texas defensive line is going to have problems. Chiefs -3. Let's keep it going, Daver.
All right. Just when I should have my head examined. Kind of looking at the second half of the game when they played it. But they play on Thanksgiving, Detroit and Chicago and the Bears.
Right.
Yeah. I'm looking at
Bears.
Bears to continue their second half play. Certainly play better than they did last week. Yeah, they're a mess. They are a mess. And I'm taking them at home +6.5 against the Lions, who I feel, obviously, those injuries are catching up to them, especially on defense. They couldn't stop Buffalo.
No, that was
maybe their coach drew a bonehead decision in this game, kick on sides, in the first quarter, something fucking stupid, and help the Bears salvage a little bit of dignity. Also, the Lions really are designed to be a dome team. They're an indoor team. Should be a little nasty there in Chicago this week, and looking for the Bears +6.5 against the Lions.
all right. Well, I'm with you. My next pick, only because it's a dog, and I should have my head examined. Let's put it that way.
Taking it back.
No, I'm against both New Yorkers. I'm sorry. I'm against the Jets, but I'm with the Giants.
Okay.
Yeah, we're sinking. We're sinking, and we're sinking fast. And we're going for that number 1 or number 2 pick. In competition with the lowly Raiders. But I think the Giants should be able to hold their own against a rookie quarterback. The Falcons look terrible right now. They don't even know who our quarterback is going to be. But take the 10 points. Actually, it's 9 now. We're getting a little action.
I'm throwing 8.5.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think Michael Penix Jr. is going to find his rhythm. Giants defense actually play pretty hard, unfortunately, not against Lamar Jackson last week. But I like them to hang around, especially against a weak team like the Falcons. Good that they're getting out of New York. Get the hell out of New York. Play tough down in Atlanta. It's going to be a dome. That's going to actually help them. Take the points. Take the Giants.
Got the Giants too, so you're up.
I'm up. Okay, we just talked about the Jets. You're talking about a trend. It's a trend until it's not a trend. Away favorites. Take the Rams -3.5. They got a couple guys back on D. Their offense is way too good for this porous Jets defense, who almost blew another one last week against those mighty Jacksonville Jaguars. Don't be frauded into believing anything about Aaron. I love you, buddy. He's crusty like me. But I'm taking the away favorite, Rams -3.5 at the Meadowlands.
Well, I can't take the Jets. So I'm not. All right, my last pick of the week for the pros. I mean, just as we were talking about how bad Atlanta is, they still won that game.
Okay. Yes.
On Monday. They still won the game. So I am going against those Las Vegas Raiders. I am taking the Jacksonville Jaguars plus a point on the road. They really should have won that game against the Jets. That game was on here, obviously. Home team here. I watched the whole game. Jacksonville should have won that game. So I figured they could beat the Raiders, who are like a AAA team right now. The best player on defense is out for the season. They have no offense, as anybody who watched the game the other night saw that, against a terrible Atlanta defense. They couldn't do anything. So Jacksonville shows up, I think they win. So Jacksonville plus, I'll take the point. Plus,
The mighty Chiefs. Take that 1 point. You might need it. You're right, Gazy.
is right. With those teams, you might need it. Yeah. This extra point to blow the game.
Well, for my final pick, I'm sticking with my MVP combo of Mayfield to Evans. I mean, it's been a great combo. I think they're hitting their stride right now.
You abandoned them last week.
I did.
Abandoned them.
I did.
Rolled it up.
I went with the mighty 690 Chargers, and
in that game.
You're right. I'm just not going to be influenced by Dallas' big victory over my Carolina Panthers that I took last week. Don't be fooled by that. The line is actually going toward Dallas. It's now -3.5 Buccaneers. It was 4. Trend is not a trend until it stops being a trend. Take the away favorite. Take the Bucks -3.5. You're laying 115, but take them.
And I'll say one thing about the game with the Chargers with Tampa the other day was they came out, they rolled down the field, they scored, they were up in that game, and then all of a sudden they weren't. It was like Chargers scored a couple of times. Tampa Bay was losing. They had every excuse because they're not the greatest team in the world. They had every excuse to roll over and die, and they
Correct.
They did the exact opposite. They made the Chargers roll over and die in that game.
It impressed me. You're right. I thought, okay, I'm going to collect. And no, it was a
Chargers defense is no joke. And the Tampa Bay, they went nuts. They were running the ball a little bit in that game too. Wasn't all passing, although they did have a lot of big passing plays. That was just a very impressive game. Also, look at what they've been doing. Remember about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was like, how the hell does Tampa Bay have a losing record? They were like 4-6. I was like, they seem to beat people. Like they beat Detroit at the beginning of the season, this and that, and they beat the hell out of the Raiders at home or whatever it was. But I was very surprised that the record was as bad as it was, especially in that crappy division where it's there for the taking. You know, anybody wants to play well. Does anybody want to play well in this division? You're going to win it. And apparently that's Tampa. So this is a game, you know, I know it's on the road, but this is a game they have to have. They have to have this game. So, yeah, that maybe should have been one of my picks. I think Tampa Bay is going to roll on the Cowboys.
They've been beaten up on subpar teams. Panthers, Raiders, Chargers are a little dinged up. And you're right. They had that 4-game skid with the Ravens, and they lost to the
man.
And then Chiefs and 49ers.
What did the Cowboys roll? 1 game against the Panthers? I mean, it doesn't even count.
And that game broke our hearts, Dave. Broke our hearts. Broke my 2 parlays.
Oh, Carolina. I thought they were trying to put something together to build up for next season and everything. And to look that bad against Dallas. And we spoke about this on Sunday, was that it was like a wire-to-wire game. It was like Dallas got up on them early and they just kept them down. It was pathetic. So the hell with Carolina. Put them on the pay them on list. So, yeah, I got a couple of chalks. But then, of course, I had to go with dogs at the end here. I'm an underdog, man. I'm a ragtop man.
Yes, you are. You are the contrarian from the north.
Not working at all in NFL this year. Working 1 pick.
I mean, how are these books still in business with these favorites? I mean,
Well, since this is their bread and butter, they get more money on 1 NFL game than they do on the entire baseball season. And I mean, last week we're in that big pool where we have we got a minute of 10 left.
Right.
We're in a big pool with 450 people in it, and so you get to see. who the popular choices are. And that's a lot of people. That's as good as a poll that they take. And I know the polls for politics are fucking worthless these days. But anyway, that's a good poll to take.
No doubt. 500 people, no doubt.
People are thinking, see where they're really strong, as opposed to those numbers that they're showing you on DraftKings about like the total bets and everything, which I think sometimes are fucking nonsense. But anyway, we can see it in our pool. And this week, the popular choice won 12 out of 16 games, 12-4. That's ugly, especially if you're a contrarian. Like, wow. So that'll be bad. We're coming back. We're trying to maybe go with a couple of choices that are a little bit more popular these days. If you can't beat them, join them kind of sentiment. And we're strong as hell on college. We're going to keep up. I don't know if we can both be strong this week. We're going against each other on every fucking game.